What's up, you metalheads and rockers? In this crazy world, as I keep on telling you guys, this is webisode number 120. I would highly, I would highly encourage that you guys subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get up to 1,000 before the end of this year, and once I get up to 700, as promised before, and I'll keep on saying it, I'm going live. I'm here with my co-host Rhino. You guys should know who I am by now. It's Al Ditton with Underground Noise Webzine. Tonight's guest is Randy Piro, formerly of Hate Eternal and now in the band called Orbweaver and Hibernus Mortis.
And EDKH.
Oh, I didn't know about that one, but thank you, Randy. How you been, dude? I haven't seen you in a while.
How about yourself?
Good, good. Yeah, it's been since April of 2006 when you were in Hate Eternal with Eric Rutan and Kevin Talley was on drums that night, and you guys played at the Penny Arcade. Do you happen to remember that show at all?
Yes. Oh my God. Wow. You saw us on that tour. So that was with Chimera and Arch Enemy, if I believe so. And I think one more that's escaping me. That was a crazy tour. We almost didn't do that tour altogether, but wow, that's cool that you saw us on that one.
Yeah, that was a fun show, dude, because I met you after the show outside and you had long hair and now you got short hair. And at the time I had short hair. But talk about role reversal, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny what time will do, huh?
Absolutely, dude. So I have to ask you, how old are you now, Randy?
I am 43 years old.
Wow, I got you beat. I'm going to be 45 next year, and Rhino's the oldest of all of us.
Well, both of y'all don't look a day over 21.
Yeah, thanks for the offer, Rhino. I'll go somewhere else. The middle finger pops up. That guy, I love that shit. But yeah, the first question I would like to ask you, Randy, is how old were you when you first discovered extreme metal or death metal, for that matter?
I was 13. I used to watch Headbangers Ball a lot. I got into metal basically through Metallica's Black Record, like watching the videos on MTV. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then the very, very next band that I was obsessed with was White Zombie. They were all about Satan and B movies. So that was all, awesome to 12-year-old me. And then I was watching Headbangers Ball at one night. And I'm drifting asleep on my parents' couch. And the video for Rapture came on. And I was just like, the intro with the guitar riff, I'm like, man, that's cool. The drums are cool. And then when David Vincent's vocals came in, I just popped up awake. Like, this is what I was looking for. And I'm thinking it's like Morbid Angels, like this brand new band I just, nobody knows of. So the next day I went to my local record store to buy, Covenant. And there's like two other records there. And I'm like, whoa. So I bought all those records, listened to them all while I was like listening to them, jotting down the band names that they're thanking in the thank list, and went right back to the record store the next day and ended up buying Theocide's Legion and Amon Feasting the Beast and Obituaries The End Complete. So by the end of that weekend, I was all in on death metal and obsessed with it.
That's really cool, because I remember when I first heard death metal, it was like Suffocation and Cannibal Corpse, but it was also the band Mortification.
I didn't hear Suffo until a little bit later, but my intro to Cannibal Corpse was Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Heck yeah, dude! Like, excellent movie.
Like, dude, this is awesome. So yeah.
Yeah,
I've always wanted to go to a death metal show dressed up as him.
Who, Ace? You should do it, Rhino. Yeah. I could see you doing that
one day.
Do it. Practice that whole rubberneck thing that Jim Carrey can do.
Dude, that guy is so flexible, it's not even funny. He could throw himself on the pavement and not feel a single scratch.
Yeah, it looks like his face is just made out of elastic.
That or rubber.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if you were to walk on stage with somebody and be like, I am Elastic Man? That would be pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Especially
good.
if he could stretch out his limbs like all crazy.
Yeah, he should have been a contortionist, but nope, he turned out to be an actor and comedian. So that's pretty wild.
He's
I
pretty
think
good
he
at
made
both.
better money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Randy, my next question for you would be, what was it like working with Eric Rutan and Hate Eternal? I'm sure it was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was awesome. Like I just said, like Morbid Angel was my favorite band when I was in middle school and high school. I mean, I literally, had all the posters on my wall and all that bullshit. So it was it was a pinch me moment. You know what I mean? Like every day I kind of had to pinch myself to make sure I was there and not dreaming. I learned a lot. Um, I had a lot of bad habits stomped out of me and replaced with good habits. Getting to jam and work with both Eric and Derek was it was fucking awesome. I really don't have any more words to describe it besides that. Like every day was something new and something awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome when you can work with people that you've looked up to for so many years and you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe I'm actually, collaborating with these guys and coming up with some really brutal music. So I can definitely
Yeah,
relate
man, it
to
was
that.
wild. Yeah, it was wild, man. It was wild.
I'm going to hand it over to Rhino for a second so Rhino can ask you some questions.
All right. Main one. Where are you a native of Florida?
Yep, born and raised.
Okay, because all these bands we're sitting here talking about, all out of Florida, almost all of them. So how did extreme and death metal wind up? Everyone wanting to wear black, and you go to the hottest state. How does that happen?
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember in that what's that book, Lords of Chaos? There's a quote from Thurston Moore from Sonic Youth where he's like, "There's this new type of music called death metal. It's only really popular in Sweden where it's cold as hell, and Florida where it's hot as hell." It's the
Exactly.
truth. It's the truth. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's something in the water. Maybe it is the oppressively hot environment, but it definitely bred a lot of talented musicians and great songwriters and awesome bands.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, what band do you think started the movement of death metal in Florida? Extreme metal, death metal.
Well, I got into it like I said around like the Covenant era, right? So, by the time I got in, like those origins were already made. Um,
Nice.
if I'm just giving my opinion, I think for what sounds like what I consider to be the defining sounds of death metal, I think Morbid Angel put the pieces together before anybody else did. But that's not to, say like, death isn't death metal or even Possessed. To me, Possessed is the first death metal band. But as far as like what you consider death metal, the lightning fast blast beats and the crazy swirling guitar riffs with the very, very guttural vocals, I think, again, to my ear, I think Morbid put those pieces together faster or maybe even just in a way that was more pleasing to my ear. But I'm not a historian, so I'll just go with Morbid.
Nice. All right. What's on top of your musical bucket list?
I'm sorry, you cut out. Can you repeat that?
What's on top of your musical bucket list?
In terms of stuff that I'd like to create or bands I'd like to see? What do you mean?
Yeah, whatever tops your list.
Well, as like favorite bands or stuff that I go back and listen to all the time, I guess would be, the first four Morbid Angel records. I love Gorguts, especially Obscura. I love Voivod. I also love like a lot of industrial and noise and power electronics. bands like Genocide Organ or Grunt, Tortoise. I've been on a really, really big power electronics thing lately, especially the Finnish stuff. I also love weirdo prog bands, especially the French Zool bands like Magma and Shub-Niggurath. Universe Zero is another big one. And I even love a lot of like, hip hop and stuff. I'm all over, what I listen to on any given day is largely based on my mood. Like the only thing that I would say is habitual is every morning I begin my day with Rush's The Spirit of Radio, because I'm a huge Rush fan, and that song just puts me in a good mood. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I understood the question, but I tried to answer it the best way I
that
could.
was great. Okay. If Al was a woman, oh, never mind. That's next week's interview. Let me turn it back over to him.
Shut it down, Rhino.
You make an attractive lady, Al.
I hope.
Especially if you're playing there.
Yeah. The flim flam's probably going to stick around for years, and it's going to get longer.
It's a good one.
I appreciate it. You were just talking about some progressive bands. You like the band Dream Theater?
I liked Images and Words when it came out, and every now and then I'll go back and I'll listen to it, but anything past that I'm not super familiar with. But I don't dislike them. They're just not like, pardon me. They're just not not a band I go back to over and over again. Like if I'm listening to prog, it's definitely all those like French Zool bands that I mentioned, or Popol Vuh or Rush. Rush is like one of my favorite bands ever. Voivod, I consider Voivod very proggy. Yeah, more stuff like that. More when it comes to the prog, it's more like the 70s stuff that really. King Crimson is a huge one, Pink Floyd, so it's more that 70s prog sound that I really dig on.
That's really cool, because I like some progressive music myself. It's you just got to have the ears for it, otherwise you're just gonna be like, what the hell's going on here?
I like music, whatever it is. I like music that takes you on a journey. You know what I mean? Like I do like pop, and I like certain pop songs, but I prefer when I put on something that like, it takes me somewhere mentally and emotionally. And death metal and prog are kind of uniquely suited for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And you were talking about Gorguts, and Gorguts is definitely one of my biggest influences for being like dissonant sounding death metal, and also very obscure. They're on tour this year with Blood Incantation, Mayhem, and Cannibal Corpse.
I know. That looks like it's going to be a crazy tour.
Dude, I can't wait till October 20th. Catch them at the Eastern in Atlanta. That's going to be so sick.
I got to see
Gorguts.
Dude, I got to see them once. It was when they were doing that Decibel tour with Carcass. And I drove up to her. Like I live down in South Florida, like not in Miami, but for people who aren't from Florida, it's easier just to say, "Oh, I'm from Miami." But so I had to drive to Orlando, which is like 4 hours north for it. And I'm not lying. When they played Obscura, I started crying tears of joy. I was just so happy to finally hear this music that meant so much to me live.
Yeah, when I see them in October, I hope they play that song Inverted, because that's the song that makes me go insane.
Oh, yeah. Wisdom to Hate. Those two records, Obscura and From Wisdom to Hate, man. More Obscura because I was really, really influenced by Steve Hurdle. And, he's all over that Obscura record. So have you ever heard Negativa?
No. Not familiar.
Dude, after Gorguts split up, Steve Hurdle and Luke LeMay did a band called Negativa, and they put out a 3-song EP before Steve passed away. And man, is it fantastic, man. If you dig that obscura from wisdom to hate type sound, you're gonna love this, man. It's fantastic stuff. I think it's called the EP's called Chaos in Motion. You
All right.
check it out. You love it. It is awesome. It is awesome.
I'll take your word for it, and I'll definitely check it out for sure, Randy. Let me get back to the Hate Eternal days, if you don't mind me asking. What song by Hate Eternal did you find to be the most difficult to play, and why?
Oh, jeez. Oh, well, all of them. I would say, okay, like I would say Catacombs, because when I learned, I'm a guitar player first and a bass player second. So when I was learning all the material, I was learning it on guitar, and then I would kind of, transfer it over to bass. So I found Catacombs to be particularly tricky. That's off their first record.
Yeah, that was the album Conquering the Throne.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a sick album. Not too many people listen to that one, from what I've been told. But that album right there, it still withstands the test of time.
Oh yeah. And another great thing about that record, you mentioned Suffocation earlier. Doug Cerrito's on that record, and he wrote a couple of tunes. And actually my favorite song off that record is a Doug tune. It's called I think it's called Dethroned. I remember it's like the 5th or 6th song on the record. But yeah, man, that first when that first Hate Eternal came out, they actually dethroned Morbid Angel as like my favorite band. Like, I became obsessed with Hate Eternal. I loved Eric's dissonant riffs, Tim's lightning fast blast beats. Like, it just sounded so inhuman to me. So they actually took over the Morbid Angel's spot in my pantheon of favorite bands.
That's a great way to describe it, man. I can totally relate to that, because there's so many bands that a lot of people are like, oh, they all sound the same. Well, are you only listening to the drums and vocals? Yeah. Well, why don't you give it an actual decent listen? And if you do, you'll be able to understand it better.
That whole "it all sounds the same" thing, to me, can apply to a lot of very stylized genres of music. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not super into reggae, a lot of reggae will sound the same. Like, if you're not super into, I don't know, outlaw country, a lot of that can sound exactly the same. So to people who, I guess I understand it, but I also understand that, like, this type of music demands a little bit of patience and study before all that before all the little nuance in it becomes really, really apparent to the listener.
Yeah, that's so true, man. That's totally true. Let me ask you this, Randy. What can you tell me about Orbweaver and Hibernus Mortis, and the third band that you mentioned that I can't recall the name of?
So the third band was EDKH.
Okay.
And all right, so I'll start with the first one. Orbweaver, I started after I left Geigen. And it was just to play the music I love, really, really dissonant, epic, for lack of a better word. It's hard for me to describe it musically, but it's just an outlet to get out all the music that's inside my head. That started in 2010. Been going, and then probably around like 2017, ended up taking a bit of a hiatus so I can just focus on other areas of my life, like going back to school and finally finishing my degree. Hibernus Mortis was like the South Florida, like, local legend. Like, when I was growing up and I would go see death metal bands, they were always opening every band. And we tuned down to G. It's like total demolic incantation worship. They went away, they broke up or became inactive probably around 2005, 2006. And then around 2012, they wanted to get back into it. So their bass player at the time, reached out, asked if I'd be interested. And I was like, heck yeah. I never considered Geigen and Orbweaver death metal bands. So it was really fun to finally play guitar in a death metal band. And then the third band, EDKH, we actually just put out a record this year on Horror Pain Gore Death Productions. And that's myself and the other two members of Orbweaver. And we just needed a palate cleanser because writing all this super complicated, crazy, avant-garde music, after doing all that, we just needed a palate cleanser of just total terrorizer worship grind. So we started writing the songs, and then, we named the band. And then once we named the band, we realized that all the lyrics had to just be as ridiculous as possible, almost like an homage to SOD or something like that. So it's just a lot of fun. It's, I described it as a love letter to professional wrestling and Alex Jones, and it's very much that.
Very nice.
Gay frogs.
Would you
He's
say?
right more than he's wrong. Like him or not, he's right more than he's wrong.
Gay frogs.
Dirty frogs gay.
You guys are funny today. That's so cool. We need humor.
What does EDK stand for? Or what's the meaning?
I'm sure if you Google it, you'll find a lot of hashtags.
Oh crap.
Let's just say it has to do with somebody who didn't hang themselves.
Oh,
That's a
gotcha.
That's an obscure yet unique and strange way of looking at it, I guess. I didn't know what was used for that. So my head was
literally, I mean, I'm not trying to be all like super boo. Epstein didn't kill himself. You know what I mean? So the whole thing started just to laugh at some of like the ridiculous stuff that goes on in the world. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
I
tell people it's
I like that.
Function Kirk Hammett, but I'll go with the real one today.
Kirk Hammett. Jeez. It's funny because I don't even listen to Metallica these days at all. I mean,
I love Metallica.
The first two I liked. I'm not gonna lie, I liked Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All, and that's as far as I go.
We wouldn't be talking if it weren't for the Black Album. So that album definitely holds a special place in my heart, like for nostalgia's sake. If I had to pick one that's my favorite, Ride the Lightning all day.
Yeah, I respect that. I respect that about you, Randy. I'm not going to talk shit, but the only thing that I can actually say about, the self-titled Black Album, as we call it, Enter Sandman, to me, had the most repetitive guitar riffs besides TNT by AC/DC.
But it was designed to.
I'm just like repetition. I almost fell asleep to that.
I get it. No, I totally get it. I totally get everybody's. Pardon me.
Don't get me wrong.
Distance for the record.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it. It just wasn't my cup of tea at the time, and it still isn't. But I'm glad you like it.
Sure.
I'm not going to tease you about it, but I could if I wanted to.
Right when I saw the video for Wherever I May Roam, I ran to my dad's room and I was like, because my dad's a guitar player, and he, all throughout my childhood, he was trying to get me to play, and I couldn't care less. I wanted to, ride bikes with my friends and stuff. But when I heard Wherever I May Roam, I was like, all right, teach me how to play guitar. I want to do that. So it still holds that special place for me.
That's awesome, man.
When I hear the Black Album, the first thing that goes through my head is it should have been Lars.
Man, You know, everybody likes to talk shit on Lars, but I got a challenge for any drummer who wants to do it. Play me Blackened. You play me Blackened the way he plays it, maybe. Lars is the shit, dude. Lars is the shit.
Well, Lars is good at what he does, don't get me wrong, but he's not like Lee Harrison. I can say that much. Shout out to my boy Lee. What's up, brother?
No,
Yeah.
of course not. Of course not. But he has a sound. Like
Yeah.
you can listen to him play and you're like, that's fucking Lars.
Yep.
And to me, that's definitely more important than technical ability, you know.
They were going to fire him when they were coming back from Europe right before Cliff died. The three of them got together, like, we're firing him when we get back to the States. And then when they got back, where Cliff died. Huh?
That was the rumor.
No, that's true.
I mean, until I hear it from James's mouth in an interview, I'm considering it a rumor.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it from somebody close with Cliff's father.
Right.
So,
no, not James, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Rumor. Innuendo. Yeah, I've heard that a lot. And, you know, maybe it's true. Like, I've even heard, I think it was like Scott Ian was talking about it. Maybe it was true. All I know is if I was going to fire a member of my band, I'm definitely not telling, you know, the guy in the band next to me. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know if I buy it.
The rumor was Lombardo was supposed to hop in.
Yeah.
But who knows?
He sounded killer when he filled in for Lars on that one show.
Oh. Al's being quiet on us.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what to say.
Awkward silence after I defend Lars Ehrlich.
Well, welcome back to part 2 with Randy Piro. What's up, Randy? What's up, Rhino? As everybody knows, it was based mostly on opinions and stuff like that in some spots, but also based on facts. But we're going to go into the next topic now, and let's talk some stuff about like the early days of Randy Piro. What was it like growing up, man? I mean, did you guys have a huge local music scene when you were a kid, or did it get bigger as you got older?
Well, no. When I was growing up, there actually was a fairly decent music scene down here, especially for like metal. I didn't really get to experience that though, because as I was getting into it, you know, I was like a middle school kid. I did take guitar lessons from this dude here who had this awesome band called Ambugalard. They're still one of my favorite bands. I mean, imagine if Metallica had a little bit of an industrial edge and they were obsessed with Star Wars, which I am too. So it was right up my alley. But not like my parents were always super supportive of me and music and stuff. But I think when they started seeing, like, hearing the death metal stuff, they got a little freaked out.
I can relate to that.
Yeah. And as a result, they wouldn't take me to local shows. And back then, all the shows were like 18 and up anyway. So I didn't get to really experience that. Like my first metal show was actually, you know, my dad took me to see Black Sabbath on the Dehumanizer tour. And the only reason I love Black Sabbath, but the only reason I wanted to go is Morbid Angel was the opening act. And they were touring on Coven. Yeah. So, and Richard Burnell was still on guitar for that one too. So I got to see that. And that definitely flipped out my dad. He was like, what the hell shit are you getting into here? But once I like got to high school and, you know, I had my own car and stuff like that, like at that point, I definitely go see any show that I could. But I didn't get to really experience like the local scene as a kid outside of going to my record store, my local record store. They'd have a flyer section. So I got to at least know all the names of the local bands. And then they had a small local band like tape section. So I would go in and grab a lot of like the demos and stuff from that section. Yeah. There was a lot of cool stuff down here, but I got to basically read about it or just kind of like know it was happening based off of demos and flyers that I would snag from the record shop.
That's really cool, dude.
I mean, besides that, growing up, it was, basic. I had an awesome childhood. Spent all day outside with my friends playing football and riding bikes and doing stupid shit. And then
ramps and stuff like that too, going downhill.
Yeah, I would do
knocking your head out of whack.
All sorts of stupid shit. But once I got into playing guitar, which was in like 7th grade, I was all in on that. I mean, literally the day that I had my first guitar, my parents took me home, and then I grabbed my guitar, jump on my bike, go over to my buddy's house for my first band practice. So like right off the go, I knew I wanted to write songs and play in a band and stuff, and not necessarily sit there and learn how to play scales. I wanted to riff.
That's what's up, dude. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yep.
Rhino's
It's weird how it changes. Oh, sorry. As a kid, you're like, oh, I play in a band and the girls line up. You hit adulthood and they turn the other way.
Didn't happen in middle and high school. No.
I literally had to pepper spray a girl that showed up at my house.
No.
I didn't have to.
What? That's kind of like when Peter Steele got approached by a girl that was at his mom's house, and she was stark naked, but he wasn't home. And his mom says to the girl, "You need to get out of the cold because you're going to catch pneumonia or something." Or no, she said, "Peter's not home and you're going to catch pneumonia." Peter actually said that on the Jerry Springer show. He was also on Ricky Lake.
I remember that Jerry Springer show.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I remember that Jerry Springer show. Like at that time, I was super into Typo Negative. I went through it. I still like them a lot, but I went through a huge phase where they were like I would say my freshman year in high school, I was like super obsessed with Typo Negative to the fact that I met a dude at school. He was a senior. Mm-hmm. And we bonded over, I was wearing a Typo Negative shirt. And the very next day we started jamming like really, really bad Typo Negative wannabe type riffs. Yeah.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because I remember when I was still in school, because like we were talking earlier, we're both pretty much the same age. Well, it's weird because I was in school and this chick comes up to me and she's like, "Al, did you know that Peter Steele posed nude in Playgirl?" I said, "What, you think I'm gay?" She's like, "Look." I said, "Hey, I don't want to look at that. I got my own dick to worry about. Leave me alone." And
I have my own magazine.
No, I'm talking to her. Jesus. Rhino.
I saw that spread and I was just like, hey man, good for him.
Yeah, hey, whatever makes him feel better at the time, right?
Hey,
he's no Fred Durst, but
yeah, good for him.
Yeah. You know what they say, you only live once, right? That's what some people say. I can't say everybody. You got any questions, Ryan?
I like how Ricky Gervais said it. Yeah. One, how many times do you get asked musically about your last name?
In Hate Eternal, it was a thing. Like, I remember, like, when I joined a band and, like, people would meet me at shows, they'd be like, "Oh, Piro's not your last name. Oh, cute, you spelled it wrong." So nobody, like, I would literally have to show them my ID and be like, "No, dick, this is my fucking name." It's It's
Yeah.
yeah. For some
He
reason,
also had AJ Piro, of course,
like for some reason, like my last
spelled the
name,
same.
like all throughout school, everybody would mispronounce it, like Randy Piro, and I'd have to be like, no, it's Pyro. Um, and then I joined Hate Eternal, and all of a sudden, people at shows are giving me shit for it. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was interesting.
Nice.
Like we were discussing earlier, I remember when I first met you, I was like, his last name's Pyro. Kind of like the word pyro saint.
Fire.
One of the few people who got it right.
Well, hey, I'm just glad that I learned good pronunciation as a kid. Well,
Yeah.
kind of.
Nope.
What other questions you got?
So,
I got a few in my head that I'm going to wait on.
okay. Touring wise, do you prefer the standard tour or the festival circuit?
I don't like touring. I love playing shows, and I like when I'm on tour, I literally live for that 30, 45 minutes that we're on stage. I hate everything else around touring. I do like visiting new places and getting to see it, but besides that, I'll do it. I'm not going to be a grump the whole time I'm there, but it's not my favorite thing to do in the world.
Favorite gas station restroom, then?
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is the
Yeah.
shit. Big shout out to
Daniel Alexander.
I should have worn my Buc-ee's tour shirt, but I'm wearing Mortal Decay tonight. Got to represent Johnny Pelini.
Nice. There's rumors that we're supposed to start getting them down in Florida, and I really hope we do. I missed the wall of jerky.
Dude, that would be so sick.
Nope.
I'm totally there. What else you got, Rhino? Like I said, I'm holding a couple of questions in my head for the moment.
Can we talk about our savior, Fred Durst?
No,
I'm kidding. Take it.
that's your savior, not mine. Mine is Jesus. You should know that by now. Jesus is my homeboy.
Jeebus.
But yeah, I was going to ask you, Randy, when you were a kid, was the guitar the first instrument you played, or did you try out piano or anything like that?
No, I mean, I grew up in a really, really musical family. Like everybody on my father's side of the family played an instrument. My father played guitar. His father played guitar. One of my uncles played guitar. Another one of my uncles played saxophone and like toured with like funk bands and stuff in the 70s. And my aunt on my father's side was a very good piano player. No, like when I was in elementary school, music class, the recorder. But no, guitar was the first was my first instrument.
I remember playing recorder too, man, right up there in upstate New York at Tioga Hills. I'll never forget that crap. And also, we also got to learn how to clap like ta ta ti ti ta ti 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 ta ta ta, some shit like that. I don't know if you guys were taught in that realm down here in the South, but up north it's totally different, man. Because every state I've ever seen, it's like a whole new environment. It's weird.
Yeah. I'm sure there were differences. I don't remember the ta ta ti ti ta thing.
Okay.
I really don't remember much. The only thing I remember from music class in elementary school is like once a year our teacher would take us to like the local musical theater where our county.
God damn it. Sorry. I didn't turn my phone on mute.
He would take us to watch like the Fort Lauderdale Philharmonic Orchestra rehearse. And he taught me how to actively listen. Like I remember he was like, if you're getting bored or you don't like the music, find a musician and just watch them and focus them on them, and you'll start to hear their part. So I remember sitting there and watching a violin player, and then all of a sudden I'm starting to hear the nuances of the violin, and then I look over to the flute player, and then by the end of it I'm hearing like I'm hearing all the parts come together. So I thought that was cool. You know what I mean? I still listen to music that way. Like the first time I listen to something, I hear it as a whole, and then I'll listen to it again and I'll just focus on the drums and so on and so forth. So that I remember. That I remember, but not ta ta ti ti ta or anything else like that.
Yeah, it was just a clapping thing that I was taught by my music teacher.
God damn it, Bob. Mute.
Hey, now.
You got a blow up.
He's my crazy friend.
You got your blow up doll out over there.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, same.
No, he's okay. Not mentally, but
Well, let's see.
All right, what you got?
I just seen that you played a show last night, and we were talking that you were saying that you don't like to tour, but if you could play anywhere in the world that you have never been, and it's like your dream place to play live, where would it be, and why?
Egypt, because it's Egypt, or I've never been to Japan. I've always loved Japanese culture and Japanese comics, and so I've like going to Tokyo has always been a bucket list. So I would always love to play Tokyo. I never really looked at it like that. I more looked at it as getting the opportunity to play with bands that I admire a lot. Yeah, I guess that's my main focus. Like, it's more about who I'm not even who I'm playing the show with. That's not a good way to put it. I just like the act of playing the music. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter where. I would prefer if it's with other people that I enjoy the presence of. But I enjoy playing live. I enjoy getting into a little dingy place that's full of smoke and smells like sweat and playing music that myself and the members of my band work really, really hard on. So I don't know. I never really looked at it in terms of bucket list besides like, oh, I've always wanted to go to Egypt, or oh, I've always wanted to go to Japan.
I'd like to.
That's one thing about touring, is I got to see a lot of the world that I would otherwise probably wouldn't have gotten to see. But I'm a bit of a hermit. I'm a bit of a loner. Like I tend to enjoy being by myself than being with other people. So I guess that's why touring, especially touring for long periods of time, can eventually kind of wear me down a little bit.
I'll tell you what, Randy, if I ever see you play live again, I'm going to give you a hug.
Please do.
Yeah, because I've known you for such a long time. And like I said, we lost contact. And it's like, holy crap, here we are now, years later.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, you still
Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg.
But you look good, man. You look good. I'm glad that you're still writing music and such. I got a band going, and we're a two-member only band. We're called Nightmare Crypt. And my bandmate in Colorado. What's that?
You have anything recorded?
I have my guitar tracks finished for my song, I should say for our song called Crushing Corruption, but there's no drums or bass or vocals just yet. But I could send you a small teaser of guitar and vocals after this interview, if you want to check that out.
No, let's send it to me when it's done so I can hear the full. Yeah, but once it's done, send it to me for sure, man. I want to hear it, but don't send it to me until it's done. I don't want to hear it in any other state besides what. Yeah, exactly.
I totally understand, man. Having the final product, as Nevermore would put it.
Yeah, and also,
sorry. Where'd you play in my hometown of Baltimore? What venues did you play here?
Oh my God, I forgot the name of the venue. The last time I was there was with Geigen, though, and it was crazy. It was the first time that I seen. I remember Baltimore had that phenomenon where there was a bunch of you know,
gangs.
young adults, and they would just take over the streets with their
Mhm.
motorbikes and stuff. And I remember me and the band are just sitting in the van as everything's passing by, and it was awesome. It was so like Mad Max. I was like, this is fucking awesome. And what's crazy is now that happens down here in South Florida a lot. Like, started with, they're called the Freedom Riders, and they would first only do it on Martin Luther King Day. But now they do it all the time, and it not at the scale of Baltimore, but just like right behind it. Still, you got hundreds of dudes just on their dirt bikes and their four wheelers, just taking over the entire road. It's still very, very crazy and Mad Max like.
Yeah, there's too many cameras now. I've always thought about for that, like buying a bunch of 100-pound fishing line and
I I was so tempted because they were like splitting lanes, and I remember just being so tempted just to open the door, but then I realized there were several hundred of them and four of us, so the odds were greatly in our favor.
nice.
This is
What do we have here? Ram's Head, Merriweather, Angels Rock Bar, Baltimore Soundstage.
God, I would literally have to go back and try to find well, I know where they are, but I have to dig through my old lanyards and my old, I'd always keep a diary of where we were and stuff, but I can't remember.
Right. Cool.
Can't remember. I remember being in Baltimore, and one thing, and besides the riders that I remember, there was this, whatever part of town we were in, there was this awesome metal statue of a dude playing like a Gibson Explorer guitar, which is what I played at the time. And I was like, that is so cool. And he had they were using chains for the long hair. And it was like right in the middle. It was like in the median of like a main street. I thought it was so cool.
Sounds like Canton, the Frank Zappa art. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Another guy I love too is Zappa.
Heck yeah, he's too, dude. That guy was a musical genius. We go to Joe's garage. There was enough room to fit the drums in the corner of the wall, or some shit like that. I forgot what the lyrics were.
And the cheesy little lamp with a sign on the front, Fender Champ, and a secondhand guitar. It was a Stratocaster with a whammy bar. I love Joe's Garage. I love Joe's Garage.
Joe's Garage.
Great record.
Excellent. Genius work on that one.
Closest thing we'll have to Mozart in our time.
Absolutely. That's a great way to say it, too. Randy, let me ask you this. This is a question I haven't asked anybody yet, and you're the first one to be asked. What band do you find to be the most underrated in death metal?
Underrated.
Yeah, in death metal.
Underrated. Well, I don't know about underrated, but they definitely didn't get their due. It was a trio out of Texas called Divine Eve. They put out, I think it was a 4 or 5 song EP on Relapse in the 90s, called As the Sunset Fades. And I got into them through, oh God, what was Relapse's compilation? Was it Death is Just the Beginning? I think they were on Death is Just Beginning 3 or 4. And just imagine Celtic Frost, but with a bit of a doom element to it. And then they broke up, and then they came back a few years ago. I don't know if they're still active, but that was a band I always loved. And I just wish more people were into it and they did more stuff, because they're fantastic.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out too. Thanks for letting me know about it, because that's one that I never have actually heard of.
Yeah, but as far as underrated, yeah, I don't know. I again, not underrated, but I just wish they got more props for what they've done. Human Remains, fantastic band.
I remember Human Remains.
Yeah, Human Remains, man. I love that. Oh man, the volume swell riffs that they would do, man. Those guys were on a different level.
Really crunchy stuff right there.
Yeah, yeah. Very out there too, especially for the time. Very, very out there.
Yeah, it gives you a big slap in the back of the head saying, wake the fuck up and listen to us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, everybody who knows them is like, oh, they rule. You know, it's so underrated. It's hard for me to pick a band that I think is underrated. There's just bands that I wish more people knew and loved, you know?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been listening to bands that a lot of people don't know about, like Crusadist. Who else is out there that a lot of people don't know about? Damage and Co. They're from Malta. They're like a modern rock / alternative type band, not quite death metal, but I love what they do, you know, because their music just kind of speaks to me in a really positive way where I'm just like, okay, there's no violence involved in this stuff, but at the same time, it just gives you that kind of feeling like, hey, music's about feeling, it's about emotion. You got to be really driven to do it if you want to really, really do it. Because that's what it's all about, man.
And I listen to everything, man. It's actually funny. Just last night, I ran into an old friend. I used to work at a record shop, and this dude would come in, and he'd always be wearing an Abigor shirt. So we'd always just geek out on Abigor, which is another band I freaking love.
That's a name I haven't heard in a good minute, though, Randy. Sorry you cut. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
Yeah, man, they're still around, man. They put out a record, I think it was either last year or the year before. Toted Stalker, a Saint Slayer songbook, I think it's called. It's fucking awesome. But this dude hit me onto a band called Destruction Ritual, which has like one of the dudes from Antaeus, which is another band I love. Just total furious French black metal. It just, oh man, disgusting in a great way. Great way.
Pretty much tears at your heart and rips out your soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there time for an act segment?
What's that?
Is there time for an act segment?
Oh,
act.
Show me your act.
Yeah, you got a guitar or a bass nearby that you can show us?
Yeah, actually, give me a second.
Cool. Everybody, this is the segment we call Show Me Your Acts, where we get to see the instrument behind the musician themselves, or himself, or herself.
Chips and Les Paul.
Oh, heck yeah. Look at that. That's nice.
Yeah, always liked Gibson Les Paul. My dad had a black Gibson Les Paul that I just worshipped when I was a kid. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Les Pauls, especially if they're black. So this is my main one. It's actually pretty cool. When I graduated college, my whole family chipped in and gave this to me. So, you know, it's nice. It has, besides being an awesome guitar, lots of sentimental value already. You know what I mean? I haven't even had it very long, but it's already very sentimental to me.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's interesting, Randy. I didn't realize how much you and I both have in common. My first electric guitar was actually a Gibson Custom Shop Edition.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that my brother decided to break it in half and destroy it while I was growing up and treat me like crap. But nowadays it's like, okay, I've moved on from that shit. But the thing is,
yeah,
he's still a piece of shit sometimes. Sorry, Wes. I had to say something.
Stole that guitar anyway.
No, I don't have
it. And if you want, I can go grab one that's the one that I use for Hibernus. It's definitely a lot more heavy metal than my Les Paul. If you give me 2 seconds, I'll show you that one too.
Okay, cool. That sounds great.
I'm a guitar nerd, so I love that shit.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, my friend. What's up, Brian?
I didn't do it. No witnesses. I
Neither.
wasn't even near there.
So yeah, BC Rich, Ironbird, and the Crackle Red.
Oh,
And what's fun about Hibernus Mortis is we tune to G, so it's just like sounds like a bass guitar when and I put it through the Boss heavy metal pedal to have that total, in tune Swedish sound. And between the tuning and and that particular pedal, man, it sounds like maggots just coming out of your speaker. It's fantastic.
That's crazy.
Fantastic. So this is a guitar I like a lot as well. And it's just fun to play at something that low. Like,
Now, is that a 7-string?
No, it's a 6-string.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's I could never wrap my head around the extra string on a 7-string. But the thing is I really want one. Like, I want a 7-string just so I could sit here at home and play God of Emptiness over and over again,
Call Eric, he might let you borrow his.
Yeah. So those are my favorite guitars.
I have a 7-string Ibanez, and I also have an 8-string Ibanez. But my main guitar that I'm using for my band is it's a Kerry King Warlock.
Ugh, does it have that terrible tribal graphic on it?
I mean, the black and red, yeah.
no, it just plays the same solo over and over.
Oh man, you know what? The Warlock is such a cool guitar, but God, do I hate that paint job.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry to know that about you.
That was my first Warlock.
Sorry,
oh, you're fine.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my first Warlock, and I get a huge kick out of it because I feel like I'm playing my Ibanez RG 120, which I don't have. But it's great because it's got that kind of same type of feel to it for me. So I can do everything that I was doing before on the Ibanez that I can do now on the BC Rich.
Yeah,
more.
I had a Warlock when I was in high school. I had a Warlock, and I had a bitch, but the guitar player in the band I was in high school stole my bitch from me. Bastard.
Oh,
bastard. But yeah, I'd like to get another Warlock again.
I hope you can do it.
That's comical. Comical because my first guitar I bought cheap was a NJ bitch, and a couple months later, this guy comes up to me. He's like, "You realize that guitar was stolen from me, right?" And I look at him and say, "You realize you're not getting it back, right?"
Oof.
And he's like, "Yeah."
That's always because I buy a lot of I like to buy and flip stuff and I'm obsessed with guitar pedals. Like, I'm a huge guitar pedal junkie, so I always have this fear that I'm grabbing somebody's stolen gear because I don't know, man. I know how heartbroken I'd be if my Les Paul got stolen or something like that.
That would really suck.
It'd be different if I liked the guy.
Yeah. I get it. Shit happens.
And I was attached at that point.
Yeah, of course.
I was attached.
That's very true that you say that. Shit happens. It's the wipe that counts. You like that one? Thank you. I needed that. Well, gentlemen, there's 5 minutes left in this meeting. Rhino, do you want to ask some more questions real quick? Like maybe say 1 or 2 more, and then I'm gonna just get to the finals.
Well, you already talked about your favorite tuning. So what variations in tuning do you use?
Well, G isn't my favorite tuning. That's just what Hibernus Mortis uses. My favorite tuning is C sharp standard. I learned of that tuning I didn't learn of the tuning, but I started playing that tuning, trying to learn Hate Eternal riffs. And for my own music, it just works fantastic. So that's my favorite tuning.
Nice.
I don't really mess around too much with alternate tunings just because my OCD would drive me crazy. Like, if I wrote a song in an alternate tuning, now that means I have to have a guitar in that tuning, which means that I also have to have a backup of that guitar in that tuning. But I have a 12-string acoustic, and I will mess around with a lot of alternate weird tunings there. You know what I mean? Whenever I'm in the mood to play like acoustic guitar, which is rare, but that's when I'll mess around with it. I respect it. I have a buddy who played in a band called Monstro. His name was Charlie. Is Charlie? He's not dead. And he's like the king of alternate tunings, man. Like every song he writes is in like a different weird, this string is, raised up 3 semitones. This one is dropped 2 full tones. Like it's whenever I watch him play, it just boggles my mind. I have enough hard a time. I have a hard enough time playing in standard tunings, so I don't. I didn't really want to overcomplicate things too much.
With your friends,
Was that Ironbird a hardtail or what's the trim on it?
It has one of those. It's a platinum, so it has one of those really, really cheap, cheap licensed Floyds. I prefer. I'm like my right hand. Like I don't have technique when I play guitar. Like I literally just beat the shit out of it. So stop tails work better for me as far as tuning. I never even put whammy bar on that. My first real guitar, like real nice guitar, was a Fender Stratocaster. Just like Frank Zappa wrote, it was a Stratocaster with a whammy bar, and that one I'll mess around and with the whammy a little bit.
That's
nice.
I'll tell you something though, Randy. With Nightmare Crypt, we play in D standard, but we also play in drop C. So whatever works.
Cool.
Well, it's a 2-minute.
Yeah, whatever gets the idea from your head
exactly
out into the world is
I think you'll dig it once it's finished. But there's like
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to jam on it. I'll even sign you a copy. And it's funny because that Haiti shirt that you signed for me back in 06, it got stolen from me.
Oh no.
Yeah, Tally
signed
it and Eric signed it.
Was it what was it? Is it a CD or a poster from the show?
It was a t-shirt from King of All Kings tour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that sucks. I'm sorry, man.
It's okay. It's easy to replace those things. But we got to
once we finish this up.
What's that?
When we finish this up, send me your all's addresses, and I'll send you the Orbweaver and the EDKH stuff. And if I can get some copies on the Hibernus, I'll send that as well.
Cool, dude. If you'd like to sign it, that'd be even better. But this is my last question. Do you have any final words for Underground Noise Webzine?
Thanks for having me. It was fun. I'm bad at signing. I'm a bad interviewee. I don't like talking about myself, so I'm a bad interviewee. So I'm even worse at signing. So I'll just say thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Check out Orbweaver and Hibernus, Mortis, and EDKH. All of it's up on Spotify. And yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, Randy. I'll stay in touch with you, bro.
Please do.
Keep your
doing like
everybody.
Send me both of y'all's addresses and I'll send you some stuff.
Yeah,
sweetness. Thank